So if you've ever looked at your to-do list and felt like you're, I don't know, trying to drink from a fire hose,
Oh, yeah.
just this constant, overwhelming torrent of demands and emails and tasks, all marked urgent, well, you're experiencing the modern productivity struggle.
And that's exactly the problem our source material today promises to solve. We've been going through the critical reviews and analyses of the audiobook The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Right, and our mission here is really clear. We want to distill the core actionable framework from this material for you.
So you can walk away with the system and the critical perspective without having to spend hours listening to the whole thing yourself.
Okay, so the core idea,
Yeah.
it's actually pretty counterintuitive, isn't it? It's not about doing more.
Not at all. It's the total opposite. The authors argue that extraordinary success comes from doing less, but doing that one thing better with like a laser-like focus.
Let's unpack that, because on the surface, that sounds a little simplistic, you know? Like just having one thing on your to-do list.
Well, the genius of it, according to the sources, isn't just the idea itself. It's the tool they give you to force that simplification. They call it the focusing question.
And this question is everything. It drives the entire book.
It does. The full question is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary?
That last part is the key, right? Easier or unnecessary.
Exactly. It's not just what's my top priority. It's what's the one action that creates a cascade.
It's like a productivity cheat code. You do one thing, and it knocks 10 other things off your list without you even touching them.
And what's so interesting is how versatile it is. You can apply it to your, I don't know, your 5-year plan.
Or your goals for this week.
Or even just for the next hour. It scales up and down.
So it's a funnel, basically.
Yeah.
The authors want you to filter everything through this one question to make sure it all aligns.
And they even provide a structure for that alignment. They talk about these 6 sort of life domains.
Yeah.
Your spiritual life, physical health, personal life.
Key relationships, job, and business.
Right. You use the focusing question in each category. That's how you make sure your daily work is actually serving your, your bigger life goals.
Okay, this is where it starts to get really interesting. Let's move from the question itself to the concepts that make it work. The sources all mention this one powerful image, the domino effect metaphor.
Yeah, this is their answer to feeling overwhelmed.
Because a huge goal feels impossible.
It feels like trying to push a giant boulder, right? The authors say success isn't about that kind of brute force. It's built sequentially.
It's about momentum.
Exactly. They use this great illustration that a single domino can knock over another domino that's 50% larger.
So a small, focused action can cascade into something massive.
Totally. So if your goal is, say, writing a book, your one thing today isn't write the whole book. It might just be to knock over that first tiny domino.
Which could be as simple as finalizing the outline for the first chapter.
Yes. That makes the goal feel immediate and achievable. It shifts your mindset from, I have to do everything, to, I just have to do this one thing right now.
And to keep that momentum going, you have to kill another idea, which is probably the biggest productivity delusion out there.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. The myth of multitasking.
Yes. The reviews say the book is just relentless on this point.
And it should be. We all know now from, behavioral science that you can't truly multitask. You're just task switching.
And every time you switch, you pay a price, a cognitive cost.
Yeah.
The authors argue that real success comes from serial focus, one thing at a time.
You knock over the outline domino, then you find the next domino.
Which leads right into the how. How do you actually implement this?
It comes down to time blocking and willpower. If you've used the question to find your one thing, the next step is to protect the time to actually do it. And this part is non-negotiable.
And I think this is a really critical insight because it integrates the psychology of it all. They're very clear. Willpower is a limited resource.
It's so vital to the whole system. Your willpower, your mental energy, it's like a battery that drains throughout the day.
So you have to schedule your one thing for when your battery is fullest.
Which is usually first thing in the morning for most people. Before you get drained by 1,000 emails and endless meetings.
And it's not just about putting it on your calendar. It's about fiercely protecting that block of time.
Right. You treat it like the most important meeting of your day one that you cannot move or cancel, because that's when you're spending your best energy on your most important task.
So if we zoom out, the whole system connects. It's about linking daily action to purpose.
Your one thing for today should connect to your goal for the week, which connects to your goal for the year, all the way up to your ultimate purpose. It creates this this unbroken chain of intention.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. We're looking at the audiobook version specifically. How does that format listening instead of reading change the experience?
Well, let's start with the prose. The narration, by all accounts, is really clear and high energy. That helps a lot. And the metaphors, like the domino one, really come to life when they're told as stories. They stick with you.
But the biggest pro, and this is something that a lot of reviewers pointed out, is the repetition.
Yeah, in a physical book, if you see the same point made for the third time, you might just skim or skip ahead.
You get annoyed.
You might. But in an audiobook, when you're listening while you're driving or on a run, that repetition acts as this passive reinforcement.
It just kind of seeps into your brain.
Exactly. You start to internalize the focusing question without even trying because you've heard it so many times.
But on the flip side, there are definitely weaknesses with the audio format for this kind of book.
Oh, for sure. When they get into the really structured stuff like mapping out your cascading goals or the details of time blocking, it's tough.
You can't see the charts.
Right. You're trying to build this complex mental model in your head while, navigating traffic. A physical book lets you see the diagrams and summaries. You lose all of that visual reinforcement.
And that repetition we just praised.
Yeah.
For some people, especially listeners who are already deep into productivity books, it can feel slow.
Simplistic, even. If you've already heard the lecture against multitasking a dozen times, it can feel like the book is dragging its feet.
Which brings us to a really important question. Is that simplicity the book's greatest strength or its biggest weakness?
That's the core debate. So let's look at the strengths of the framework itself and then get into some of the sharpest criticisms.
Okay, the upside first. What makes it so effective for so many people?
Number one, it's incredibly actionable. It doesn't get bogged down in abstract theory. It gives you one question and one method. You can literally start using it the minute you hear about it.
And it's very motivational. The tone is all about getting you to apply these habits, not just understand them. It pushes you towards immediate action.
And that's helped by the fact that it integrates real psychological elements. It's not just about scheduling, it's about managing your limited willpower. That makes the whole idea feel more grounded and more achievable.
Okay, now for the critical balance. For you, listening, it's important to hear the other side. What are the main criticisms?
The big one is oversimplification. Some critics say the core message is just prioritize your work, and that the book spends hundreds of pages dressing that up in metaphors without adding much real depth.
And I can see that. If you're a productivity veteran, you might feel like you're getting a refresher course instead of something new.
It's a fair point. But the counter-argument from the book's fans is that complexity is the very problem it's trying to solve. The depth isn't in the theory. It's in the relentless, single-minded focus on actually doing the work.
But that implementation runs into the second big critique, the risk of extreme focus.
Yes, this is a huge one. If you take the title literally, that you should only ever care about one thing, critics argue you'll end up neglecting other vital parts of your life.
Like your health or your family or managing a team where everyone has an urgent need.
It can feel totally unrealistic for anyone with a complex, multifaceted life. So how does the framework actually handle that? Do they give you any guardrails?
They do try. They talk about the difference between your macro one thing, like a yearly goal, and your micro one thing for today.
And they stress that you have to cycle through those 6 life perspectives we mentioned. So your one thing for today might actually be a health checkup, not a business task, if that's what's most important right now.
So the focus is serial. It's not one thing forever. It's the one most leveraged thing at this moment across all the important areas of your life.
But the critique still stands. In a really complex job, trying to define that single priority can sometimes lead to more paralysis, not less.
And finally, there's just a style critique.
Right. If you like your business books to be very academic and data-driven, the self-help style with all the stories and motivational quotes might just not land for you. It can feel a bit light.
So after all that, what does this mean for you, the person just trying to cut through the noise? What's the practical takeaway here?
I think you gain 2 really powerful skills. First, you get the focusing question as a day-to-day decision-making tool.
An instant filter.
An instant filter for what matters most. And second, you learn protective time blocking. You learn to identify your best hours and to defend them like your life depends on it.
And that's what stops your day from running you.
Absolutely. People who apply this really do report an immediate jump in clarity and follow-through. They stop wasting their best energy on trivial tasks.
So our final verdict, based on all the analysis, is that the one thing is incredibly useful if you're struggling with distraction and overwhelm. It's a simple, repeatable system.
Yeah, the ratings really reflect that trade-off. Content clarity and practicality, they score really high, like a 4 out of 5. But depth and nuance, that's more like a 3 out of 5. It buys its simplicity by leaving out some of the messy complexities of real life.
Which brings us right back to where we started, that conflict between radical simplicity and, well, a complicated world.
And it leaves us with a provocative question. If your goal is extraordinary results from a single focus, what happens when your one thing is forced to change because of some external demand you can't ignore?
Like a family crisis or a sudden emergency at work.
Exactly. So if success is all about serial focus on one priority, a question for you to really think about as you apply this is this. How do you decide which urgent things are truly unnecessary, as the book says, and which ones are actually essential maintenance? Defining that boundary, that's the real ongoing challenge of putting this idea into practice.